Okay, I know we want to go, but we've got champion select ready. So Hawk, Dia, take me through this one.
All right, Hawk. It's time for the final draft of the day, and a big game for both of these teams. I'd say Fluxo arguably even more, and they're starting things off strong with a Nico that fell through the first 6 bans.
This is the first game that Nico has been unbanned in the entirety of the split so far. 14 games banned, now first picked by Fluxo. FURIA, they have to have something up their sleeve if they let this one through. And Dia, just to rein us in as well, we got a lot of time to talk about all these players, but make no mistake, this game is about the bottom lane. Brunsey and IU are the carries of their team, so it was great that we got to highlight how excellent the supporting cast has been on both sides. But the fact remains that this is going to be a bot-focused battle.
And that's going to help out a lot, or rather, it's going to help out a lot. If you can just disguise yourself as a minion and walk right into lane. Can't tell you how many times it's happened to me this patch.
True.
And I have no idea how many times it's going to happen, if at all, to FURIA, but they've got to have everything locked in. Now, the nice thing is that they got that rock in the mid lane, unchanging, ever-present. The terror that has been Tuts' Annie is making return.
And they got the Ophelia. So it's almost, this is like a mutually assured destruction draft where FURIA says, okay, we'll give you the single most OP champion in the game right now, but then we'll take 2 of the best ones still available, Annie and Aphelios. Teams very rarely have been given both of these because of how strong they have been. And Fluxo forced to respond suboptimally with the Jigs for Brunsey, which, granted, was the champion that he did pick up his win on last week.
Still pretty darn confident on the Jinx, and I think that what was really demonstrated to us last week is we get the Lulu that was featured alongside it, is that Fluxo do know how to play very well about Brunsey on an immobile AD carry, as is a necessity in 2023 League of Legends. If you don't know how to play around your immobile hyper carry, I don't know what you're doing, but Fluxo, they can really crush it.
I'd really like to see a jungle pick come through here, Dia. I don't think there's anything that you can get into this Lulu that you really want on 3, but we'll see what FURIA opts for. There's no way that gets locked. Oh, okay, nope, it has been locked, in fact.
I use like, do it. I've done it. It worked for me. And out comes the Pike. This, as you said, not what I would have expected. Not something that I would have gone, I really need this into a Lulu right now. But FURIA went for it.
You know what, though? Pike actually is very good into Lulu. Lulu, a little bit too slow, a little bit too immobile, a little bit too short range to actually deal with Pike. And Pike has insane roaming potential to go influence other lanes. So that's a big thing that I'm really looking out for now. You've already got the Annie, which provides additional playmaking. I want to see FURIA have other places where Zai could go, so that basically whenever he's off map, Fluxo has to be afraid of the potential roams. Things like Jax in the top lane, up and available, could be very strong on 4 for FURIA up ahead.
I was going to say, as this draft gets further on as well, I mean, I can't help but feel that Vital's role is getting even further defined. Man's going to be on a tank. There's no 2 ways about it. There is so little actual tanky stats that have been picked up for FURIA or Fluxo so far that the top side, you have to imagine, is going to be one of those, you know, Malphite, Cassante, Scion, whatnot matchups, because you need some beef to put in front of these folks.
You need some beef in 2023 League of Legends. That's for damn sure right there, Dia. But yeah, I mean, you very much need something that can sit in front. Wukong, I mean, I'm actually amazed it's left up and available. Things like the Kindred and Viego opted to ban out instead. Now, it's pretty difficult actually to play this champion against Nico and Lulu, and now Nocturne. We talked about this champion earlier. Its ability to get on top of the enemy hyper carry and shut them down is substantial. The Grog is to create space as well. Fluxo, they have themselves a very stalwart composition on the blue side.
And it isn't just the Nocturne that enables the composition. It's the Nocturne that throws a little bit of shade at Loud from last week, who picked up the Nocturne into Fluxo and got promptly schooled on how to make use of the pick. Fluxo whip it out this week, and they'll be taking it into an Ornn, who's locked in towards the top side. Another champion with, I'll say, significantly different access to the backline, but access to it nonetheless.
access to it nonetheless, which FURIA has no shortage of whatsoever in their composition now, with 4 champions that want to go forward, and Aphelios, one of the 80 carries as well, that is no stranger to running at Fluxo. And now, I mean, the chips have been set, the pieces aligned on the board, and Dia, this is gonna be a very interesting game because we have a lot of skirmish on both sides that we've not been as accustomed to seeing so far this split. But given that it's the CBLOL, that is what we do here. We fight, we skirmish. That is where the games are decided. So both teams so clearly indexing into that portion of the game.
We're really changing things up, and I'm gonna bring Rudude back in because we are getting our first Nico up to split. It was the first thing that we called out in this draft, and for good reason. We haven't seen a Nico yet. What are you expecting from Nico's first game in CBLOL?
Disguises, ward disguises, crab disguises, and potentially plant disguises as well. Now, I do want to highlight something interesting about this draft because I have a little bit of time to do so, so I'm going to do it. I'm looking at this Nocturne, and I think this is going to be the least Nocturne game you are ever going to see. I see a lot of engage on FURIA's team. What I want from Disarmis this game is as soon as that Call the Forge God comes down, just press ulti on Nocturne and watch them try and engage on you. That is my theory about how the best use of Nocturne is going to be for this game. Nico versus Dive as well is also super, super strong.
Is this sounding good to you, Hawk? I'm kind of seeing the truth here.
I'm kind of subscribing to it. I feel like the mind games in general, Fluxo, they've got like the Nico and the Nocturne, like lots of question marks gonna be forming in their heads, I think.
Okay, well, we are about ready now to get on to Summoner's Rift. Fluxo versus FURIA, 2 teams coming into the game at 1-1. One of these teams will end the day with a positive win record, the other with a -1. But, Hawk, Dia, we're getting onto the Rift for the final game of the day, so take us away.
Thank you so much, Rudude, for bringing us through the draft, guiding us into the final game of the evening, or I suppose for me, of the afternoon, because that's where we be at, Hawk. I think it's around the same time for you, but it's given me the perfect time to set up for exactly how this game is going to go, because I need to be fully awake for what I'm about to process.
And what a game to end it on as well, because this is by far the most explosive draft we've had in a day, Dia. I mean, just so much playmaking potential on both sides, and again, hyper carries for Brunsey and IU. It's the young prodigy from last year that made his name at Worlds against the new prodigy in IU. They are facing down in an electrifying matchup, and this is a big one as well, because this is 2 teams I think that we expect to be a bit on the playoff bubble moving forward, and I know we're a long way off from that time, but it's these sort of wins, these games early on in the season, that can mean a lot in that race down the stretch.
Now, I gotta say, there is absolutely the opportunity for Zai to make a big mark here as well. Zai's been in the conversation for rookie support, for best rookie player, for even best support in recent memory. And by picking up a Pyke into this composition on just your 3rd game of CBLOL 2023 Split 2, you have the opportunity to really make waves. Force people to put some respect on your name, and I like that we're taking the risk.
And so Zai did have 2 games of Pyke in the spring split. It has been a pocket pick in this player's pocket, both of them against Lulu, interestingly. So Zai clearly likes this pick for himself. And now in split 2, not afraid to go for it here. And you'd have to think this has to be partially IU as well. I mean, a player known for things like Belveth support when he was playing in that role. Like, I'm sure IU was like, yeah, you want to play Pyke? Like, bust that crap out, let's go, and let's fight them. And I mean, you know, like, I think that's part of the game plan here for this bottom lane in their electrification of the CBLOL scene.
I like to imagine that IU saw the Pyke cover and he was like, "No, man, come on, that's my thing." Like, I am the one that's
no way. Real recognizes real. I'm sure IU's got to be hyping his boy up. That's my theory. You know.
I mean, they've already been playing this lane out pretty darn well. Hasn't been any early explosive engagement, but now that we've hit the level 2, Jojo gets whipped right back underneath the tower, can't fire back, and, well, Zai goes low. It's a nice positive early trade for FURIA, as Disarmis actually shows on vision. Isn't aware this has happened just yet, but Get some down on Goot meanwhile, and Fluxo and FURIA both walk away a little the wiser with an invade happening with House.
Oh, they already are smelling blood in the water on the bottom side. We talked about the skirmish potential of these teams. Now, Goot not able to walk up, however, IU and Zai without their wave under tower maybe could rotate over, or it'll just be Tuts pushing out mid and trying to deny the minions.
Goes the smite, but that is a big lockdown onto Zai. Gets himself over the wall. Trap's not going to connect with anyone as Goot just now comes over the side. Fluxo have managed to avoid the engage, get away with a blue buff, and as Goot goes forward onto Desamas, he's forced to immediately clone back. Hook from Zai, not going to land, and Fluxo have to be disengaging this, surely. Tuts doesn't have stun available just yet, but he managed to lay down a little bit of damage before flashing away himself.
As FURIA losing out on a couple flashes, they so desperately wanted to contest on that play, but they just didn't really have the skill shots landing. Tuts low on mana, Zai, the hook, barely went wide on JoJo. Maybe that could have been the go button, but at the end of the day, I mean, FURIA, they lose out on the blue buff in a couple flashes, but they do at least deny mid wave. They get shoved in bot as well, so it's fine for them.
Yeah.
The game still in a very even state.
Both teams have absolutely opted into this trade. I don't think any of them are coming out super upset with it. However, I will say that early on, this does look really good for Fluxo, who have now managed to crash a wave back into the mid lane and have already made a very team-focused play, something that we had highlighted them for before the match even began.
Any play that can get a Nocturne ahead in the jungle one-on-one is very positive for the team with Nocturne, because if he's ahead of the enemy jungler, he hits level 6 first, that's just that much more time that you have to make that play with the paranoia. So Desamas getting down that top crab, he gets the blue buff, he's feeling very good about his pathing, can just go bot and look to continue covering Bruncy and JoJo, who I don't think should be under any threat from a flashless Goot.
Nice damage from House, as our trades in the mid lane have not disappointed. Tuts actually calling House's bluff pretty frequently, even with the clone that House does keep throwing out to attempt to confuse him. It's been a nice matchup for both of these mid laners to chill in, but one that Tuts is losing a bit in the push. For when House shows up, Nico's got a lot of wave clear to work with.
Certainly does. Nico, pretty frustrating to play against, if I'm being honest. This champion can be pretty annoying, but, you know, there's a reason why she's been perma-banned for every game except for now, as Kai is getting aggressive on the bow.
An easy knock up here. Belly bump not going to connect this time, but managed to save it for after. Tai goes low. This could go either way. Both top laners flash away from each other and managed to stay alive.
Oh, and the emote flash from Tai right there. That was a really goofy play, as both top laners did not want the smoke, clearly, and bot laners, however, might. Okay, they're just all gonna walk away. Nobody dies. We're still 0-0, Dia.
That was so close to not being true, and, well, we might have another play being made. Goot is on the way, and Fluxo just now found out about it. They've spoiled for choice, though, with a split team. Desamas is zoning out Goot, getting some good damage now. He's gonna flash forward. Goot himself doesn't have the ability. Ooh! But with a quick reposition of the wall, Clone saves his life.
Oh, that was a really critical clone right there, because Desamas knew that Goot didn't have the flash, wanted to go aggressive. I like the gusto, just didn't quite have the cooldown tracked. Should be able to get Dragon, though. FURIA completely on a reset off of that. So, again, it's still a mildly positive play for Fluxo. They're down just a bit in gold, but by and large, I think this game is going fine for them, really waiting for that level 6 to come online for Desamas before any sort of major playmaking is on the cards.
At this point, you're just about securing whatever you can for Fluxo with the small advantages they've been able to stack up so far. Zai's hit the map once more, already on the roam, coming up towards the mid lane with Pike and clearing out some vision, but in large part, even FURIA are confident in sitting back. They know they've got an Aphelios and an Annie that are going to scale very well, and there isn't necessarily pressure to make a whole lot of early game plays.
There's really not. FURIA, they've got great skirmishing, but again, they're also a very ult-reliant comp. They want Death from Below, they want the Cyclone, so just don't need to do anything crazy, and both these teams recognizing that very well. FURIA, they're up a little bit of CS in every lane, just a couple of minions here and there, resulting in their mild gold lead, but I mean, Dia, it's very slow, right? We're just hanging out. We're having a good time. We're not going for full fisticuffs yet.
No, but we are keeping track of each other. That war that our observer highlighted, clearly going to be able to see Desamis having taken the Scuttle Crab up top. So information given over to Goot, who shows up to try and make a play in the mid lane.
Ooh, okay. This is interesting because you would expect these teams to want to prioritize the Herald, but stacking wave on bot, FURIA might be swimming for a dive. It's going to be ult mid first, however.
Connects onto Tuts. He's got no options but to walk away under tower, and that's not going to save him. Still picks up the first blood, though, before he goes down, and he picks up a double as the turret connects for a lot of damage. Now we got a play going on the bot side. FURIA have already won across the map. They got the double knock up in the bot lane, and Bronze melts. Jojo trapped underneath the tower, soon to follow.
Really nicely done, FURIA. They picked the right play, and Fluxo chose wrong. I said I wanted to see House and Desamis get involved in the game, but not like this, not dying under tower at level 6.
We gotta watch that one
back. Oh my word, Dia. We can take another look at this. I mean, go ahead.
This was honestly very surprising because it looked like the CC should have been layered almost perfectly, but enough time to get the Timbers and the stun off, that changes everything for Fluxo and for the better for FURIA.
And Toots was just able to create enough distance, and with that play mid, it means no one is here to cover bot. So when two plays are made by both teams and both of them go the way to FURIA, that is a massive, massive win for this team of many young players that, again, high expectations after a great performance in week 1. Looking good, up 1.5 thousand this game on the Herald as well.
Super clean plays from FURIA, and off the back of those, like you say, Herald not really contestable. And Fluxo know it. Desamis even no longer owns this side of his jungle now that Zaya's roamed up, and makes this a very unsafe part of the map for Fluxo to be playing. Bring up a whole lot of support. Waves crashing for IU in the top side as the lane swap did come in to help secure the purple crab.
Tao just pushing on bot as well. Fluxo, they're going to try to defend on the top side instead of cross-mapping, but with the Herald, it's just going to be a win for FURIA. More plates to go their way. Paranoia is up in 7 seconds if Fluxo wanted to do something crazy, but unfortunately, they don't have the window, they don't have the timing, and FURIA, very respectful. They're playing together as a team fantastically so far.
Not taking any unnecessary risks either. I can't tell you how many times I've played Pyke and gone, well, I'm level 6, I really need to cash in, let's just make something happen. But that's not what's happening with Zai. FURIA are managing to stay restrained and make plays that they know Fluxo simply can't respond to, as opposed to going for these low percentage skirmishes around the map. Those skirmishes that, honestly, I'd expected a lot more of.
And Dio, we saw that gold graph. Guess who was at the top? IU, the young prodigy, the carry that everyone was excited about. Looking damn good, getting propped up by that supporting cast of FURIA. This is exactly the game plan that we have come to expect from this team, and I'm waiting as well for those moments where Tuts and Batal, these solo laners that we took the time to highlight in the pre-show, can get involved, because that is where they have really shined, is not just in their ability to lane self-sufficiently, but to execute beautifully in the 5-on-5.
Yeah, wait for Batal to show up. That's what I'm really looking forward to, is on the Ornn. You've even got
it
more
could be
to
time
offer.
for Batal.
Very much good. Oh God, get me, somebody send help.
Anyways.
At this point,
oh, boy.
I mean, I may not be thriving, but as you said, IU certainly is. Did just get that cull popped as well, so FURIA even more comfortable. Next, Dragons just hit the Rift, and you can only imagine that this one's going to be going over to them. Goot feeling confident enough to start this up, but at this point, game's not over for Fluxo. This is not some of the games that we've already seen in the CBLOL today where things are out of control. Looks really good for FURIA, but how did Fluxo get back into it?
It's definitely not, because FURIA rather, they have a very difficult to execute composition, and Fluxo do not have that problem. They basically all press their R buttons and they win the game, right? In theory. So, with Runcy on Jinx as well, you can never really count them out. However, FURIA, they're just growing their gold lead ever since that dive. It's increased even more, and now going aggressive, spotting out the Samis.
a nice stun to connect as well. Samus will commit this time, and with no flash on Zai, that is a dead fish taken down. Good play for Fluxo. This time, absolutely tracking the cooldowns.
There we go. Hey, everybody press R. We win. That's the play. It happens right as we talk about it. Nicely done. Able to get one
Teleport.
back. Fortunately, does not go to Brunson's pockets. That
It is
we
not
got
the
action in all
time.
lanes, Dia.
Yeah, Tuts manages to survive with a very nicely timed stopwatch, denying the damage out of House. And with denial from Tay as well, a lot happens, and simultaneously, absolutely nothing just happened, Talk.
Yeah, that was super interesting. Patel really wanting to go aggressive again, trying to prop up IU, but unfortunately, Gragas has about 6,000 different ways he can interrupt or a TP, and uses the ultimate. Really nicely done to invest that.
Tuts gonna hit a quick recall. Furia, map wide, have actually chosen to reset real quick before hitting the Rift once more. After losing the kill on Zai, it doesn't affect the game plan too much, but everybody's gonna be taking at least a small mental break as they walk back to lane and refresh vision to make sure that a play like that doesn't happen again. We already saw how Nocturne was helped by the team early on, grabbing the blue buff. Now you've picked up a little bit of a kill. Paranoia, a very powerful tool. I should say it's okay, right?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Whoa! That was a long Phantom Undertow. Clearly, Zai understanding the champion very well to get out without expending the flash. I thought he was caught out, Dia, but nicely done. Both teams posturing heavily in the river right now. And Dio, you mentioned earlier, Furia, they're playing respectful. They're not going crazy, trying to get the big resets for Pyke, all those cuts being shared across. However, 15 minutes into the game, outside of the dive, we've not really seen Zai get all that involved. I mentioned I wanted to see playmaking lanes for Furia so that could happen, but really hasn't.
Yeah, I think a big part of this is that they're not feeling the pressure. They got a small advantage early on, and Furia have decided that though they do have tools, they don't seem to want to capitalize. And I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. It seems to be working.
They're still up. Yeah, then that's all that matters, right? They're still up. They've got the Gale Force onto IU, and I think they're just going to wait for Dragon. Herald is spawning in 20 seconds, so maybe that instead would be the place that these teams want to look towards for a fight. Tuts has the TP to be able to join if something were to break out. And at this point, in a 5-on-5, I do think I favor Furia's composition. There will be a moment where Brunsy and House become too much to deal with, but I just don't think Fluxo's there yet. And they recognize this. They look to cross-map on bottom by taking this tower and zoning Tuts away.
It's absolutely going to work. Nothing that Furia can do in response, and if you play this right, you could even get first brick off of it, but with everybody retreating back up towards the mid lane, it does appear that's not the priority for Fluxo at the moment. They're going to slow play this one, letting the Rift Herald go over for a trade of a bit of damage in a solo lane for House.
Fluxo just a little bit miscoordinated on that play. They wanted to try to knock down bot tower, but I think they're just a bit slow on it. They feared the Herald just going down in mid in a fast push from Furia. Now, they do eventually get it. However, Furia, they've got a lot of tempo on the top side, taking down top and members stacking up in mid with Shelly in pocket should they want to do something before this Dragon.
Now, Tay's got the opportunity to join a fight wherever it happens, as does Vitao. Teleport's available for both of them. For House, however, this is different. He doesn't have teleport, and Tuts absolutely does. So the side lane assignment now forces a quick recall from House. Gets a few boots, so he will move a little bit faster, but you've got to be very careful about your lane assignments as Fluxo.
Definitely do. The catch potential as the map starts to open up, as you highlighted, Diaz, is very scary. Pyke, in Fog of War, not a fun champion to play against, especially because he's probably going to get an Umbral Blade as well, so it's going to be even harder to see where these Bone Skewers are coming out from, and not really any major frontline outside of Kai on the side of Fluxo does mean that it's going to be difficult to body block for those hooks. But Drake up, Herald in hand. I have a feeling they're going to want to push down mid and drop this Herald and force Fluxo to make a choice.
to be a pretty regular play. Vital does take a lot of damage, though. Still has access to
Dropped it a little early.
Horn. He's going to hit the recall first and then try and teleport in. This Rift Herald, however, is going to get absolutely nothing done. It doesn't sound like we're getting any pay today. Fluxo take it down for a clean extra 25 gold. With another teleport coming in to try and challenge this dragon.
Small mistake from FURIA. They dropped the Herald just a bit early as Tuts and Zai were posturing in the river. So it was essentially a 3v5 in mid, and FURIA, they couldn't step up to protect Shelly.
Oh my god, it's massive! House goes crazy, knocking up 4, and the fight is off! Fluxo on the defense now as Jojo runs from Good, gets cleaned up. Bronze's excited, but he's zoned out by Tibbers, and it's FURIA instead, who from the back line run it all, winning out the fight just by a little. 3 for 2 in the favor of FURIA.
That did not look like one that would go the way of FURIA, but IU stood tall and with Goot still had plenty of damage to get it done. Let's take another look as it is House pulling the trigger on the Nico for the first time in CBLOL. 5-man, 4-man, Pop Blossom does big damage, but watch the kite out. Despite Tuts getting one shot, Goop gets in, gets a lot of knockups. And between Vital and him, IU has more than enough space to free hit as the Sibelius.
And it again comes down to Fluxo tracking cooldowns. IU has flash, their Desamis doesn't, and it's the difference between an AD carry living and dying. It's a mistake that Fluxo cannot afford to make, but have now made twice in this game. When a play goes off for them, it's because they're tracking cooldowns, and when it goes poorly, it's because they are so clearly not.
Fluxo, they do still get the objective off of it, however. No objectives went the way of FURIA after the play, not even the mid lane tier 1. So Fluxo, they're fine, and at the end of the day is a Pyrrhic victory. But FURIA, they want to try to go right now.
Towers down, but they're avenging it. Tuts with the flash. Tibbers ends up almost taking down the AD carry, and ultimately, it's actually a pretty clean play. I was thinking this would continue, but this is everything that FURIA asked for.
That was an insanely clean setup. IU had the Gravitum gun onto Brunty, so he couldn't get out of range of an easy one-shot onto the enemy bot lane. 3v5 onto the Baron. FURIA, they have turned up the gas to 11 in this mid-game. 20 minutes in. They're trying to take this one down, but enemy jungler's still alive.
Another ult just to dissuade anybody walking into the Baron
They're
pit,
afraid. They don't
now,
know.
With the flank from Tay. Al's waiting in the wings as well. We're actually going to get a full disengage, and thank God that Fluxo managed to pull that off with just a bit of pressure, because this almost went pear-shaped.
And again, it's actually just a couple of kills. Going the way of FURIA, it doesn't end up being that much, and that's the Flash Tibbers invested into this play from Tuts. It is a very beautiful setup, but by not being able to get the Baron, the game still relatively even. Sure, 3,000 gold separates these two teams, but it's not quite a game-winning advantage.
And that's why we're getting FURIA playing slow again. They do not overextend. They don't get too greedy on the Baron. They go back to the reserved play that got them to this point, to a position where as long as they continue to play in this way, they should be pretty darn confident in their ability to close things out. Zaya is going to be spotted on his way down, but the vision control out of FURIA's support has been incredible this game.
And both AD carries very high in the gold graph. They will be the X factors as this game progresses. And Dio, we're hitting the later stages of the game. I think both teams going to be content to farm it out until Dragon spawns in 2.5 minutes. We might be in this one for the long haul. So while we've got the time, I want to take a moment to highlight a few players that are standing out in this game. One that we didn't really talk about in the pregame, Goop on the Wukong, 5-1-2, having a tremendous game. And what a split it has been so far, starting it off in these first 3 games. Had a great game of Kindred earlier on Sunday, and a player that I think most of us thought of as a tank facilitator style jungler, really stepping into a carry role so far in split 2 and looking damn good.
It's made a lot of noise this split, that's to be sure, and it's clear that FURIA are comfortable experimenting red-white, but we have the engage, And now with Aphelios having no way to escape, he's going to go down. Unfortunately, on the other side, Bronze got blown up as well, and it was all Goot all the time. With 2 tanks right on top of him, Furia walked through yet another team fight, and IU manages to stay alive.
Fluxo just decided to flip the game right here, Dia, and that was 4 for 0. That's just Baron going the way of Furia, just like that. I mean, what the hell just happened? That's the game-winning advantage we wanted.
I think we have to see the replay off the back of that, because IU looked like he could have been dead to rights, but evidently being able to survive and having your jungle and top laner decide that the enemy AD carry is going to die, it's pretty good.
So IU has no flash. Clearly that's the call from the Samis. Let's go deep, but look at Goot and Zai in the front, buying space for everybody. Goot 2v5, killing Jojo, killing Gruncy, and on the backside, IU doesn't die to the dive either. It's a very split fight from Fluxo. I understand what they wanted to go for, but clearly an overzealous setup puts them 6,000 in the hole.
And now it gets even worse as well. Ornaments have started to funnel in. IU's got his already. Goot's ready for another fight, sitting around the side of this doomed mid lane tower. A ceremonial one, if anything. And you've got the world is your oyster if you are Furia. Lanes to push, places to be, and honestly, I don't see how they're losing a team fight while this Baron buff persists.
I don't know if I see them losing a team fight. That was so much expended from Fluxo to not get anything, and now Furia just has such a strong advantage. So again, Dia, I don't know if it's just while this Baron persists. I think Furia is in a phenomenal spot to close out this game and improve to 2-1. They're even doing the old-fashioned death rush, because why the hell not? Mid lane tier 2 certain fall.
And it's the vision control that Furia have been building since minute 1.